All right, everybody. The next movie on our list, Arachnophobia. Take it away, Jude.
All right. 1990, Arachnophobia, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour 49 minutes. This had a budget of $22 million. Vader, what do you think this brought into the box office?
I don't know, man. I remember this movie, again, was kind of a thing, right? There was like this weird spider phase.
A lot of big actors
in movies,
movie.
right? Yeah, and it's a Kathleen Kennedy making good coffee phase kind of movies, you know.
She made her best coffee.
Her husband directed this movie.
You Kathleen Kennedy.
Frank Marshall.
Yeah, you know, nepotism.
Were they married at that time?
Yeah, so basically this movie was directed by Frank Marshall, who was Kathleen Kennedy's husband. They were married at the time. They were the producing duo for Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, who made like the Indiana Jones movies and the Star
Feels
Wars
like
movies.
a Spielberg movie.
But before this film, and Steven Spielberg did indeed executive produce this one as a favor to Frank Marshall because this was Frank Marshall's directorial debut.
Yeah. What was the budget you said?
$22 million.
I'm going to say probably in the 80s or 90s.
Okay.
$90 million.
Okay.
$88 million.
All right. $53 million.
Okay.
So it still doubled its budget and was a success, but not quite the stars you guys were reaching
I've been
for.
just picking numbers.
Yeah,
with
me
eight
too.
in
I
them.
just was like trying to like triple.
So I had 800,000 for the first one, 8 million
For all
the second
8
one.
legs?
Yeah, for all 8 legs. I don't know if anybody picked that up, but I'm letting you know now. That's what I was doing.
You're so smart.
'Cause I'm terrible at this game, so I'm just guessing.
I remember this. I remember like Eight-Legged Freaks. This movie. I remember the marketing for this movie. It was a thing. These. It was a big budget.
I'm gonna let Jude do the synopsis, and then I'll give you my story about this movie. Go ahead, Jude.
All right. So Jeff Daniels moves his family to the quiet town of Kanema, California, to fill the shoes of the town's retiring doctor. But as soon as he arrives, learns the established doctor's had a change of heart and has decided not to relinquish his clients to some young city boy. Already settled, Jeff Daniels decides to try to establish a clientele on his own, but his patients keep dying mysteriously. He begins to suspect a species of spiders has infested the town and is killing the residents. But where could they be coming from? Spoiler, his barn! A Venezuelan spider mated with a common American spider. A romance for the ages. They've moved into Dr. Jennings' barn and immediately start making babies that start killing the locals. Jeff Daniels teams up with the Warlock, his assistant, and John Goodman to try and find and exterminate the nest of deadly arachnids and tragically end up destroying a bunch of wine in the doctor's cellar in the process. Discuss.
I love this movie.
Oh, I hated it.
I love it.
I think this is a great movie.
This is a great movie.
But I hate watching it.
I hate it.
Oh, it's disturbing as
Yeah.
fuck. So if you would have asked me like 3 months ago, hey, what's arachnophobia? I would have been like, oh, that's a straight horror movie.
Yeah.
That is a straight like suspense, thriller, horror. There's nothing else about it.
It's because it is.
It's freaking terrifying.
This is a dark comedy.
I watched this now. It's funny as hell.
Oh.
I could not believe how much comedy was in this movie.
I didn't laugh a single time. Not once.
Are you telling me when the doctor the doctor moves to this town and he's like the old man doctor screws him over, so he doesn't have any clients, so he's just getting clients anywhere he can.
I thought he was an asshole.
The old doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah, the old doctor's an asshole.
Yeah.
But the freaking Harry from Dumb and Dumber
Jeff Bridges.
not Jeff Bridges,
Jennings.
Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels.
Yeah.
Jeff Daniels is like just trying to get work wherever he can, and the local like football coach is like, "Oh, I'll throw you some work. Come over to the freaking stadium the next couple of days.
Come cup
He
some
goes,
balls.
He goes over there, and like the whole scene is just like it's Jeff.
Yeah.
It's Jeff Daniels on camera with the boys standing in the forefront, and he's just going by one, staring at each one of them, cupping their nuts, and going down the line. And you could tell he's just like, I hate my life.
I've been
he
in
doesn't
that
even
line.
have gloves on.
And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so funny. This is so goofy, dude. I think this movie is an underrated comedy. Like there's so many weird, goofy moments that are hilarious. But also when I was watching this as a kid, it had to have scarred me for life when they opened up the coffin from the dude who died in Venezuela. And even his death scene. I remember when I was a kid watching him and he's in a tent and the freaking spider crawls up and bites him in the leg. And he starts like railing and freaking out, can't breathe. I remember that as a kid being like, oh my God. Like I was terrified. Watching it now is it's not as scary, but it's still like when they open up that coffin and his body's all freaking like sucked dry and whoa.
The worst part of this movie is when they discover the bodies of the old couple and they lean in.
When they were watching Wheel of Fortune?
And one crawls
out of his mouth.
Oh God, that was the worst.
That's the other thing. I want to give this movie credit because I'm like looking, like some of the scenes are obviously like puppets or whatever that they just like spider shaped things that they throw at them. But the majority of the scenes where you're looking at these spiders, that shit was real. That was a spider.
Those are real spiders
that they put in front of the actors, and like it was like crawling around and moving. And I was like, who in the hell had that many spiders for a Hollywood movie?
First of all, no thank you.
Yeah. Like, imagine the director, or I guess it's freaking Frank Marshall, is like, hey, we need 10,000 spiders to crawl on the walls of this house. Yeah. And they're like, we got you.
I'm fucking out.
Listen to this. I am way more, I would rather watch the grossest freaking cannibal movie ever made than have to watch a bunch of...
I don't know, dude. I've seen Human Centipede. I'd rather watch this.
These spider movies, this movie was a straight up horror movie to me.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I mean, I was kind of like live tweeting when I was watching this thing. And I think Anima might have like been listening. And I was like, I can't do this movie. I'm literally watching this movie like with my hat over my eyes. It was just like, and it's a kids movie. I put this up there with like the Goonies. Or you know, that kind of same kind of vein of movie, but for some reason this thing just messes me up. I hate it.
It has a Spielbergian,
it's definitely got
family friendly vibe to it.
Yeah.
But it's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
Well,
it
was produced by Amblin Entertainment, which is Steven Spielberg's company. Right. He was the executive producer. Frank Marshall came on board as the director of the movie. I think Jeffrey Katzenberg also had something to do with it. So it's got the Spielberg DNA to it. And the opening like 10-15 minutes of this movie, straight up Indiana Jones.
I had forgotten about the first 10 minutes of this movie.
Okay.
I kind of like that part of the movie.
Were they just not the worst scientists ever? They're like, hey, we come down here to this like million-year-old cave that's never been touched by humanity, and we're just gonna gas everything.
We're gonna
fill it full of freaking poison gas and kill everything in the area so they can study it. I'm like, who are these people? Terrible. This is the worst thing you could possibly do.
Yeah, I remember, so like I was obsessed with this movie when I was younger.
Really?
Yeah, which is surprising considering like how much I hate spiders. But I remember the commercials for this movie when it was leading up to the release. It was called a thrillomedy.
Yeah. And
I was obsessed with this concept of like a thrillomedy. I was like, wait, it's a thriller and a comedy. And it was one of those movies that played a lot on HBO. And so like, I would basically just watch it whenever it was on HBO. And it was a really freaky movie, but at the same time I was like, this isn't very funny or scary. So like it was a weird kind of like amalgamation of the two movies. And basically Frank Marshall, his goal was to make The Birds but with spiders. So it was like an homage to Alfred Hitchcock. And one of the caveats that Steven Spielberg laid down for him producing this movie was that he wanted to have John Goodman star in it. Now, originally, Frank Marshall wanted John Candy for the role of the exterminator.
Oh, okay.
But Steven Spielberg had just worked with John Goodman on a movie called Always. And so like he was very much a fan of John Goodman's. At the time, John Goodman was on the biggest TV show on the planet, which was Roseanne. And so they worked out a deal where John Goodman would come in and he basically came in on his weeks off from Roseanne. And so they had to schedule like, the shooting of his stuff around him. That's one of the reasons why he wasn't in the movie more is because like, they didn't have him for very long, but he was the best part of this movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny because like there's a really great documentary on the making of this film where they go into like how they were able to get the spiders to like act for and do what they wanted them to do. Cause 90% of this movie is like using real spiders.
God, that's so crazy.
Yeah. And like, there's a scene where basically like a bunch of spiders come out of the bathroom sink.
Yeah.
And there's just like a ton of them. And basically they use like this, like this hot air blow gun to like encourage them to move. So like they packed them in and like, they just all like kind of freaked out coming out of that sink.
Oh, can you imagine being the person on set and being like, okay, there's a tube full of spiders.
Yeah. I would finish wrapping the movie and then I would shoot myself in the head and fall into a fire.
Well, also the spiders that they chose, so like the little kind of like spindly leg
red
spiders,
ones,
they're like the main kind of hybrid bad guy spiders in the movie. They're actually not poisonous, like they're actually very timid spiders.
I don't care.
But they look frightening. and that's one of the reasons why they used them. And so basically, like, not a single spider was harmed in the making of this movie. Like they took a lot of pains to make sure that the spiders were humanely treated, and like none of them were ever like. They even gave John Goodman a fake soul in the scene where he like steps
Squishing it on the spider. Yeah.
So like there's like a little gap in his shoe that the spider like would just like hide under. So like he like you never kill a spider in this movie.
Do you know what kind of spider it was?
I don't know the name off the top of my head, but it was one of those movies where like when I was a kid. I think the thing that freaked me out the most of this movie is the scene where the spider's in the popcorn bowl.
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But getting to my spider story.
Oh, yeah, take it away.
Okay.
So there's a scene in this movie where a spider hides in the toilet, right? And when you see that scene, like nothing happens of it, but you see the spider crawling in the toilet, and then someone goes and sits down in the toilet, and you're just like, oh my God, clench your butthole.
Exactly.
So when I was a kid, I was in Cub Scouts, and we used to do like summer camp, my troop. And there was a time where I went to summer camp for a week, and it was one of those things where basically like it was like a dedicated campground. It had like these like tents that were like kind of pre-set up, and you'd be there with your buddies from Scouts, and you'd just do your thing for a week. You'd have all these activities. But it was one of those things where like you were out in nature and there were bugs out there. And it was kind of funny hearing Alex talk about his wolf spider thing, because like my story has to do with wolf spiders, because this was in Virginia when I was a kid. And so basically you had these bunks in these tents, and you'd have yourself and your tent mate. And my tent mate loved spiders. He was one of those guys who would like pick up spiders and play with them and stuff like that. So
that kid's in prison now.
Yeah. So basically, the thing that happened was we had this mosquito netting that we were supposed to put up over our bunks to keep us from getting like eaten alive. And I didn't understand how mosquito netting worked. And so like I just put it on top of me like a blanket. And mosquito netting is just like this, like, it's almost like
mesh.
a cheesecloth mesh type thing to keep the mosquitoes from eating you. And there were so many wolf spiders in the campground that I woke up one morning, I just had like 3 of them on me. And these were spiders that my idiot bunkmate brought in with him to keep as pets. And
what?
And so like I screamed, like I threw the mosquito netting off, and then I like learned how to like actually use the mosquito netting. But I asked for like a different roommate. And but one of the worst things about going to camp was, so like there was no indoor plumbing, it was all outdoor plumbing, right? So we had these outhouses. And if anyone who's been to a camp knows, outhouses are just like bug central. And so like you'd go in there and you'd see spiders crawling out of like the hole that you poop in. And so like I didn't poop for a week. I literally held it in until I got home.
That's funny.
Because I didn't want spiders crawling up my butthole and laying eggs.
Because the flies are attracted to it, and then the spiders will put a web inside the toilet to catch the flies, and they'll be like, oh, this is freaking buffet central. Never sit on a freaking toilet outside in the woods unless you kick the shit out of it a couple times first and make sure you knock everything off.
And this was decades before I knew about the shitting log
technology. Shitting logs, very important.
I feel like we all have to shoot ourselves in the head and fall into fire after this.
I got a flamethrower. I need to be cleansed.
But of the 3 movies we watched this week, this one takes itself the most seriously, and is the most believable,
and is the most terrifying,
and is therefore the most terrifying.
The scene where we get Jeff Daniels.
Yeah.
What's
John Goodman.
John Goodman. Thank you.
My favorite character of the movie.
He's hilarious, dude. He goes
good.
when they first were like, oh, I think we have termites in our basement, because he like breaks the wood off, and he's like, oh shoot. He goes down there, and the guy's like, I don't see any termites here at all.
Just bad wood.
Like, well, what are we supposed to do? Replace the bad wood with good wood. And it's just like,
What does he say? Something like, can you tear it all out? And she's like, no. And he's like, all right, never mind then.
Yeah. And the other thing too is when he meets the actual like spider scientist dude who went to Venezuela, and he's like, it's always nice to meet a colleague. It's just like, He thinks so highly of himself.
Bug guy.
Yeah, the bug guy. It's hilarious, man. This movie,
John Goodman was the highlight of this film.
Yeah,
He wasn't in it enough. Like, I would have rather he be the main character than Jeff Daniels.
It would have been great if it was just the exterminator, just follow him the whole movie, and just
I bet there's a movie that features an exterminator and it's a horror movie. I'm gonna look for it right now.
Yeah, it's called a Big Ass Spider.
Big Ass Spider. Okay, so this is by far my favorite movie of the week. I hadn't watched it in forever, and I forgot, or I didn't even forget. I didn't know how funny it was until I watched it this week.
I didn't think it was funny.
It's freaking hilarious, bro.
You're crazy.
The old doctor who's like, I'm gonna investigate you, and then he goes and gets his foot bit, and he goes like, call the other guy. I'm having a seizure.
I guess, you know,
I'm having a
it had its
stroke.
moments.
And when the freaking fat sheriff dude like is sitting there and he's munching on cereal in the dead person's house, and he pulls out a freaking spider in his hand, there's really, really weird dark comedy in this movie, and I didn't remember that.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why Jude hated this movie. It's because in the climax, so much wine was wasted trying to kill that stupid spider.
And he pulls the bottle out, and he's like, not the Merlot.
It's the real tragedy. Because even like there's so much fire and heat in that basement, and even the wine that survived didn't, because it's vinegar now.
Yeah, it's done. It's toast.
Yeah, but they actually saved that scene until the end of shooting because it was just Jeff Daniels there, and so like they shot out everyone else's stuff, and then like they just focused. I think it took like 2-3 weeks to film that.
Feeling things crawling.
My least favorite, or favorite, however you want to look at it, moment in this movie, as far as like Frank Marshall directing it, is when the very ending, when they're in the cellar, and it's crawling on his leg, and he's looking at it, and then the camera has like a super close vision of the spider's eyeballs, and it like keeps going back and forth between Jeff Daniels and the spider's eyes. Ugh,
Yeah,
freaking weird, man. It, like having that thing just like look at you. It's just like,
are there any bugs that are cute to look at?
No.
Maybe roly polies,
I don't know what that is, but I don't want to know.
little
Pill bugs.
Yeah, little pill bugs.
I don't like them.
They called the animatronic spider Bob. That was like the
Bob?
spider's name.
I had a staring contest with the praying mantis one time. It was kind of fun.
Did you lose?
Oh yeah.
All right,
Sure.
let's do final thoughts. Give it a rating, V.
Oh geez, I honestly don't have a lot to say about this movie. I did not like this movie.
Really?
No.
Like legitimately didn't
Legitimately did not like this movie.
because it scared you, or what?
It just made me feel
Like
gross
everything's
and
crawling on you.
yeah, I'm itchy now thinking about
Me
it.
too.
And it was probably because the spiders were mostly real, and I
that
don't
fucking shower scene.
I don't even
where
stop.
it hops
Bleh!
off the freaking thing and it lands on her face,
Yeah.
and then it slides down her chest.
Yeah.
Oh!
I can't. The faker, the better. Make them giant. They don't bother me.
They're real fucking spiders, bro.
Yeah, it's
I
can't do it. I mean, what did I give the other one? 2.5.
Yeah.
I'll keep it about the same as a 8-legged freaks. Simply because I do know it's a better made and fun movie. It's just not for me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just I don't ever want to watch it again.
All right. Jude.
So
I have a shower spider story of my own.
Oh no.
When I was in high school, I was showering, and I was mid-shower, and I looked up, and there was a spider on the ceiling, like directly above my head. And shower's still running. I jumped out of the shower and dripping all over, and I was like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And there were cleaning products in the little pantry in the bathroom. So I grabbed an aerosol spray. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna kill it. And I sprayed it with an aerosol, and all that did was make it crawl down its web to face height, and I shrieked.
Naked Jude versus the spider.
It's like that scene in Arachnophobia where the dad comes in, the daughter's naked. She's like, oh, God.
Yeah, just freaking out.
It was just like that. So ultimately, it was hanging on the web, and I was like, well, I can't finish my fucking shower.
Yeah.
And then eventually it crawled back up, and it was just hanging out on the ceiling again.
Did you get back in?
Well, so what I did was I got under the sink, and I grabbed everything under the sink, and I just started flinging objects into the shower up at the ceiling, and finally something hit it. It fell, and I put it through the drain, and the whole rest of my shower, like I finished my shower, but I was like against the wall, like
that motherfucker
watching the drain.
Was looking at you through the drain like,
sure.
I'm going to get that bitch.
For sure. And then I sprayed the aerosol into the drain too.
Okay, what's your rating for this movie?
Oh God, it's so horrible. It's so terrifying, but it's also a really good movie. So I'm gonna give it 3 clenched buttholes out of 5.
Nice. Okay, Kadish, go ahead.
Yeah, so this isn't a bad movie. I think that you know, like it's well made, it's well acted. It's just that the subject matter is so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff with the fight with the big Bob spider at the end doesn't age well. Like it's very obviously a puppet and stuff like that. Even though I remember at the time it was like the height of like special effects technology to have like this spider. Yeah, I got to give it solid 2 clenched buttholes out of 5.
Just 2?
Just 2.
Wow.
Like, I can't say that this is a very good movie. It's just like an okay movie. It's well, like I said before, it's well made. I just didn't think that the story was very good. And I've seen this movie a lot. But yeah, you know, it's kind of funny, like how Vader talks about, like, I can deal with like giant CGI spiders, but the minute you get to like the realistic tiny spiders that, like, you know, are, you know, what we're used to seeing, it's just like it's creepy. It's hard to take. And so like
the fact that they're real is what makes it even worse.
And I've had nightmares about spiders crawling through my popcorn and stuff like that. So like it's rough.
I think that the creep factor and the comedy still hold up.
Yeah.
I feel like
it looks like a 90s movie, but it holds up.
Well, Warlock isn't it? So, but there are scenes of like when they go in the barn and they have like these big spider webs, and they're like literally like creatures like mice and stuff like that. Their corpses are just like, you know, cocooned, and like they're sucked of all like the you know, juices and stuff like that. And it's just so creepy. You know?
When freaking when the exterminator gets in there, it's like, oh my God,
cricket part.
they got the professor. And then he goes and gets his freaking poison out of his. He's like, I got something special cocktail for you guys. Yeah, and he goes in there with his freaking dual wielding sprayers. Amazing. So stupid.
I feel things crawling on me.
I feel like I should give it minus half a point for some Kathleen Kennedy stank.
There is a little bit of Kennedy stank in this movie. Yeah.
You're gonna do that for Back to the Future and Jurassic Park and all that shit too?
Yeah, I think
it's ridiculous.
So.
It's a ridiculous opinion.
Retroactively taking points away.
That's so stupid. All right, so that's it for. Oh, mine. I'm with Kadish 3. Who gave it 3? Somebody. Oh, Jude. I'm with Jude. 3 stars. 3 butthole clenched. Whatever, out of 5.
3 spider-free buttholes.
Yeah, yeah. 3 spider ball sack bites.
Oh. All right. So if you guys are curious, our next week's podcast is going to be campy space horror.
It's Jude's pick.
Oh my God.
Jude week.
Killer clowns from outer space, critters, and the Blob.
Oh my God.
The 1980s, the Blob.
The 1980s, the Blob. It's going to be a hell of a week, guys. So tune in. Vader, where can they find you on the socials?
You can find me at Matt Vader 74 on the socials, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, the things.
Excellent.
Yep.
All right. Jude, where can they find you at?
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram and on TikTok. And you can reach out to us via P.O. Box if you scroll down. It's in the
description.
In the description, yes.
Excellent. Matthew Kadish.
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter. KadishBooks.com takes you to my Amazon page. And also don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating. And if you go to saltynerd.com, there's a little option that allows you to leave us a voicemail. So if you want to give us a voice message, we can play it on the show and respond to it and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching the podcast. Really appreciate it. We love the support. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And if you're new here, subscribe and leave a comment. We love reading the comments. We love replying to them. And it also helps us out with the algorithm. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. See you next week. Stay salty.
Please leave us 5 stars.